The leather chair felt colder than usual as Marcus Wellington III settled into it, his eyes barely open, watching through the gaps of his lashes. At 62, the billionaire CEO had perfected many skills, but tonight he would test one he'd never tried before, the art of pretending to sleep while his world hung in the balance. The late November rain pelted against the windows of Wellington Industries' executive suite, 40 stories above Manhattan. Marcus had dismissed his security detail an hour ago, telling them he'd work late and lock up himself. Now, slumped in his chair with his head tilted back and mouth slightly open, he waited. His heart hammered against his ribs, but he kept his breathing steady and deep. The soft click of the door made every muscle in his body tense, though he forced himself to remain still. Mr. Wellington, came a tentative voice. Young. Uncertain. Marcus recognized it immediately. Daniel Reeves. The janitor's son. Through the narrow slits of his eyes, Marcus watched the 18-year-old step into the office, pushing a cleaning cart. The boy had his mother's gentle features and his father's strong build. Miguel Reeves had cleaned these offices for 15 years, always with a smile, always with dignity, even when others barely acknowledged his existence. Marcus had noticed. He always noticed. But Daniel shouldn't be here. Miguel was the night janitor, not his son. The boy moved closer, and Marcus could see the worry etched on his young face. Daniel approached the desk, then froze when he saw Marcus apparently asleep in his chair. Mr. Wellington. Daniel whispered again, louder this time. Marcus didn't move. This was the test. Earlier that week, he'd overheard two board members discussing a missing file, confidential acquisition documents worth hundreds of millions. The file had last been seen in this office. Security footage showed only Miguel entering and leaving that night. The board wanted to press charges. They wanted to destroy a good man's life over circumstantial evidence. Marcus had refused. He'd known Miguel for 15 years, watched him put his son through high school while working double shifts after his wife died. But the board had planted doubt like poison in his mind. What if he was wrong? What if his faith in humanity had made him blind? So tonight, he'd staged this test. He'd left documents on his desk, fake acquisition papers, but Daniel wouldn't know that. He'd sent Miguel home early with a bonus, claiming a special assignment completed. He'd arranged for Daniel to cover the cleaning shift through a third-party contractor who wouldn't know the connection. And now he waited to see what an 18-year-old boy would do when he thought no one was watching. Daniel stood beside the desk, his hand hovering over a folder marked, "Confidential, Wellington eyes only." Marcus's pulse quickened. The boy's fingers trembled. Then Daniel withdrew his hand and began emptying the trash can instead. Marcus felt a wave of relief, but he kept watching. The test wasn't over. For 20 minutes, Daniel cleaned with meticulous care. He dusted the shelves, straightened the books, vacuumed the carpet in careful rows so as not to disturb the sleeping CEO. Every few minutes, he glanced at Marcus with concern. Then Daniel did something unexpected. He pulled out his phone and made a call, his voice barely above a whisper. Papa, are you awake? I know it's late, but I'm at Mr. Wellington's office. No, I'm fine, but Papa, he's here. He's asleep in his chair, and I don't know what to do. It's cold in here, and he doesn't have a blanket or anything. Should I wake him? Marcus's throat tightened. The boy was calling his father at midnight because he was worried about the boss's comfort. He heard Miguel's tinny voice through the phone but couldn't make out the words. Daniel listened, nodding, then responded, "But Papa, what if he's sick? What if something's wrong? You always taught me to look out for people, especially when they can't look out for themselves." There was a long pause. Then Daniel sighed. Okay, you're right. I'll leave the note and go. Love you too, Papa. Daniel ended the call and stood there for a moment, staring at Marcus with genuine concern. Then the boy did something that made Marcus's carefully maintained facade nearly crumble. Daniel walked to the small coat closet in the corner of the office, a closet Marcus himself barely remembered existed. The boy pulled out an old cardigan that had hung there for years, forgotten. Daniel approached carefully, his footsteps silent on the plush carpet, and with infinite gentleness, draped the cardigan over Marcus's shoulders. "I hope you're okay, Mr. Wellington," Daniel whispered. "Thank you for being kind to my father all these years. Thank you for seeing him when others didn't." The boy returned to his cart and pulled out a notepad. Marcus watched through barely open eyes as Daniel wrote something, then placed the note on the desk, weighing it down with a paperweight. But Daniel didn't leave. Instead, he turned off the harsh overhead lights, leaving only the soft desk lamp burning. He adjusted the thermostat, raising the temperature a few degrees. Then he positioned himself in the corner of the room, sitting on his cleaning cart, and pulled out a worn textbook. Marcus's eyes widened slightly. What was the boy doing? An hour passed. Daniel sat in the corner, reading by the faint light from the hallway, glancing up every few minutes to check on Marcus. The boy was keeping watch, making sure he was safe. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. All the cynicism, all the suspicion, all the careful walls he'd built during decades in the cutthroat business world. This boy, who should have been home sleeping before his early college classes, was sitting in a cold office watching over a billionaire who had everything while he had so little. Finally, around 2 in the morning, Marcus heard Daniel's phone buzz softly. The boy checked it, then stood and stretched. He approached the desk one more time, checked that the cardigan was still in place, and whispered, "Good night, Mr. Wellington. I hope you wake up feeling rested." Only then did Daniel leave, pushing his cart quietly out the door. Marcus sat in the darkness for a long time, the cardigan still draped over his shoulders, tears streaming down his face. He reached for the note Daniel had left. "Dear Mr. Wellington, I found you sleeping and didn't want to disturb you. You work so hard for so many people. I turned off the lights and raised the heat. Please go home and rest in a real bed when you wake up. The world needs good people like you. Thank you for always treating my father with respect. It meant everything to our family, especially after we lost Mama. With gratitude, Daniel Reeves. P.S. Your confidential folder fell on the floor. I put it back on your desk without looking at it. Papa taught me that a man's word and honor are all he really owns." Marcus stood on shaking legs and walked to his window, looking out over the city he'd conquered but never truly seen. Somewhere out there, Daniel Reeves was heading home, probably to study for a few hours before his classes. A young man who'd never had it easy, never had shortcuts, but who possessed something Marcus had spent millions trying to find: genuine character. The next morning, Marcus called an emergency board meeting. "Gentlemen," he said, standing at the head of the mahogany table, "I have an announcement. First, the investigation into Miguel Reeves is closed. He is innocent, and I will not tolerate any further discussion of charges. Second, Wellington Industries is establishing a new scholarship program, fully funded, for children of all our employees who wish to pursue higher education. It will cover full tuition, books, and living expenses." The board members exchanged glances. "Marcus, that's very generous, but I'm not finished," Marcus interrupted. "Third, I'm implementing a new policy. Every executive in this company will spend 1 week each year working alongside our maintenance, security, and support staff. Not observing. Working. Because somewhere along the way, we forgot that this company isn't built on acquisitions and stock prices. It's built on people. Good people. People like Miguel Reeves and his son Daniel." "Marcus, what brought this on?" his CFO asked. Marcus smiled. "I spent last night learning what real wealth looks like. And it wasn't in any of the folders on my desk." That afternoon, Marcus went down to the janitorial offices in the basement, a place he'd never visited in 20 years of running the company. Miguel looked up in shock as the CEO entered. "Mr. Wellington, is something wrong?" "Did Daniel, your son," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion, "is extraordinary, Miguel. You raised a young man of exceptional character." Miguel's eyes filled with tears. "You met Daniel. In a manner of speaking." Marcus pulled out an envelope. "Miguel, I'm putting Daniel through college. Full scholarship. And when he graduates, if he wants it, there's a position for him here. Not because of charity, but because Wellington Industries needs people who know that doing the right thing matters more than doing the easy thing. Mr. Wellington, we can't possibly." "You already have," Marcus said quietly. "You raised a son who covered a sleeping stranger with a cardigan because he was worried he might be cold. Who sat up all night to make sure that stranger was safe. Who refused to look at confidential documents when he easily could have. Miguel, your son taught me something last night that I'd forgotten, that character isn't about what we do when people are watching. It's about who we are when we think no one can see." Miguel wiped his eyes. His mother and we always told him that kindness costs nothing but means everything. Your wife was a wise woman, Marcus said. And she'd be proud of you both. 3 months later, Marcus sat in the same leather chair, but this time he wasn't pretending to sleep. Daniel sat across